A sleeping person should not be reflected in the mirror. If it so happens that you have a wardrobe like a closet, naturally, there's a mirror. If you wish well for yourself, it's better to cover it at night. You can really think with your head, come up with something. There are so many different, sticky things now. But cover it at night because the mirror draws energy from a person. And when he sleeps, he is completely unprotected. Moreover, at one time, it might have been fashionable to make mirrored rooms, even mirrored ceilings, to have sex and admire oneself. That is, after several years, such men mostly became, impotent, let's say, because the mirror took away all their masculine strength.
I really dislike it when someone imposes their point of view, as if it's the ultimate truth, especially when it doesn't correspond to reality. That's it. Yes, at the end of the video she started explaining why you shouldn't do it, but unfortunately, she explained it incorrectly. You can notice such an effect, it's true. Why is it not recommended to sleep near a mirror? Because a shiny object located near you, when you are in a trance state, and the borderline state when transitioning into sleep or waking up is a trance state. Shiny objects, light-reflecting objects that reflect you, can have quite a strong impact. But not because these objects are somehow magical, but because your consciousness at that moment is receptive to such objects. That is, essentially, it's a tool. A mirror is a tool used to enhance practical effects, to enhance magical effects, to enhance the alteration of your consciousness. If you are not planning to practice, if you are just planning to get up for work in the morning and you don't need any of this, then this unexpected enhancement of the shift in your consciousness can simply frighten you a lot. You won't be mentally prepared for it. Therefore, it is not recommended.
And why does the mirror enhance?
Well, that's just how it is.
So, can a mirror be called a portal at all?
No.
What is a portal anyway?
What is a portal? A hole in space that leads to some other part of this space.
But do they exist in the physical world?
A portal, of course, exists. We have it in our energy field. These portals lead to different dimensional levels of our universe. This is called gates. 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. They exist, but these are not mirrors. These are gates. These are energy processes. A mirror shifts consciousness. It helps to shift consciousness. It has an influence. It's a tool. The same goes for this crystal ball. It also helps to shift consciousness. But if there is no consciousness, it's just a crystal ball. If a mirror is just standing and looking, I don't know, into emptiness, it's just a physical material object. There is no magic in it, no enchantment.
So if you sleep in front of a mirror, in a state of sleep,
your consciousness can unexpectedly drift away because of the effect of this sparkling, reflective object. The same thing in the past. As in the past, it still works now. You can practice by directing your gaze at the surface of the water, especially if it is slightly rippling, shimmering, and the sunlight begins to reflect in it. That is, playing with these endless sunbeams. This shifts your consciousness, and you might find yourself carried away to the point of losing consciousness altogether. That's it. This does happen, but it's an effect specifically caused by the shiny object.
All right. And in general, do such objects, besides shifting our consciousness, have the ability to drain energy from us?
No. It's just a mirror, that's all. How would it drain energy from you? No, we can give away our energy by directing and focusing our attention on it. But that's something you do. You could just as easily take a stone, focus your attention on it, and your consciousness would start flowing into it. Then I took it back into my consciousness. Yes, but it's not the mirror. It could be any object. Do you see your reflection? If you get fixated on your reflection, yes, your consciousness will flow into that object. Because you're fixated-ish on it. You're concentrated, focused on it. Not because it's a mirror.
Okay. And if you get fixated on your reflection in the mirror, what will happen?
Well, regarding sex, she actually pointed out correctly it does have a place, but the mechanism is different there. Everything we cling to, we lose. If we cultivate this sexuality, passion, enjoyment of sex in ourselves and forget about our soul, the mirror amplifies it. Why? Because you continue to focus your attention on this aspect? Well, pornography amplifies it in the same way, although it has nothing to do with the mirror at all. You just get even more stuck, even more attached, even more fixated on it, and start destroying yourself with it even more. Yes. And that's why mechanisms start to kick in that slow you down. But the problem is not with the mirror. The problem is with the person who so zealously tries to immerse themselves in all of this, completely forgetting about their soul and everything that we place above the soul and try to cultivate leads to breakdowns, and quite quickly. But it's the same if I place love for a car above my own soul. Well, this car will most likely either crash, and I might be the one to crash it, or it will be stolen, or someone will scratch it so badly that I can no longer be attached to it, or I will find some flaw in it after which I will loosen my grip. That is, everything we try to place above our own soul gets spoiled. Cultivating this through reflection in the mirror, sexuality, that too will spoil. But the mirror has nothing to do with it.
Okay, but do you mean not to get attached to anything?
Yes, please, get attached. Just this attachment should be weaker than your attachment to the soul.
Uh-huh.
You can get attached, but not too much.
Well, it's interesting. I'm just curious how this might be in, this physical life, perhaps. That is, you have a connection to your soul, and you love your car. You really love it. And how to understand if it's an attachment to the car or exactly this healthy balance? So if everything is fine, does it mean the connection to the soul is stronger, right? If something happened, if, for example, you crashed or scratched it, then it means you're being shown that something is wrong.
Well, yes, you've already overstepped the mark. Look, it's very simple. Wherever your consciousness has flowed the most throughout the day, that's what you're most attached to. Wherever your consciousness flows during the day, that is the attachment. That will start to deteriorate.
Is this an inevitable process?
Well, try to avoid it. Let's see how you do.
So, can we say that to attach yourself? Well, attach in quotes to things. You need to significantly develop yourself, your soul, your energy?
No, you need to distribute it differently. You may have a vast amount of consciousness, but if you distribute it in such a way that the soul is in second place, then whatever is in first place will deteriorate. Well, look, you don't have to look far. Let's take, for example, a more or less orthodox Christian life. There, they sit at the table, food. But before they eat, they go within themselves, pray, and direct their attention to God. What does it mean to direct attention to God? It's the same as trying to feel something that, in principle, can be called the soul. That is something immaterial, something not easily attached to, something that does not have the same structure as the material world, the material plane. Yes, you can attach to an idea, but God is still more fiery than just an idea. That is, every time we direct our attention to akatumok, a solid object, slow, crystallized, we also begin to crystallize, and that's why it breaks. When we direct our attention to a potentially fiery object, which is orders of magnitude, like 100 million times more fiery than you, on the contrary, blossom, you accelerate, and then you maintain balance so as not to completely shrivel and crystallize, not to turn into a snowflake. You balance so that you remain like water. You look at the material world, enjoy the material world, freeze, freeze, freeze. And just as crystallization begins, snap. No, wait, I look at the sun, at the fire, at God, at the soul, at all of that. In reality, all of this is located here, in the heart. And you begin to dissolve, to melt, to return to a liquid state, or even gaseous. This is life. This is your movement. This is actually a topic that is very difficult to quickly outline so that everything becomes clear. I have answered this question many times. There are these videos on my YouTube channel, previous ones. There will be many more episodes on this, but here you need to feel all of this, not just listen about it. Look at a person who listened to me, agreed with me, practiced, but did not feel their heart. And look at this person who did all the same things and heard their heart. These are two different people. You need to experience this yourself, not just listen about it. When a person finds this fire, finds their soul, finds the deity within themselves, finds this heat, directs their attention there, their consciousness flows there. If the consciousness flows there just a little more than anywhere else, there will be no problems at all. Do whatever you want, even surround yourself with these mirrors and do whatever you like in front of them.
You just need to personally try to understand. Does it work? Does it not work? And then...
It works. I've tried everything on myself and recommended it to others. They are also satisfied and want it. It all works perfectly.
Well, yes, with your audience and your reviews.
No, they won't let me lie. Those people who have experienced it all, they agrees with what I say, what I tell, says, yes, everything is there.
Also, Anton, I would like to return to the topic of portals. You mentioned that there are objects that shift our consciousness.
They help?
They help, yes. And if, for example, are there any places on the planet that are like portals? Is there something like that?
Of course. Of course. Our planet has the same kind of energy, the same kind of field structures that are absolutely identical to ours. They just have different sizes and are located in different places. If we orient ourselves relative to, say, our physical body, head, chest, knees. Our Earth doesn't have a head, chest, and knees. Our planet also has areas on the continents where such structures are manifested, which are called gates or portals.
Well, which ones do you mean, for example? For example, the second gates are open in Bali, permanently, always.
So you need to be extremely mindful when you bring various trinkets home from this point in space.
You might bring along a whole string of inorganic beings that are tied to that trinket. These are not the inorganic beings that just flew in and out, unable to stay here. Those that have already acquired a body here gained flesh and brought themselves home in that flesh.
This will lead to certain events in a person's life.
All right, and besides Bali, are there any others?
Besides Bali, as I travel around the world, once I find all these things, I'll let you know. I haven't traveled much around our planet yet to reliably say where everything is.
What about in Peru, for example?
I haven't been there even once. In general, if you feel these places from a distance, the energies of the seventh center are very well manifested there. Where the seventh center is, there are also the seventh gates. I need to go and see.
Again, on the level of feeling everything.
Is it possible to fall into, say, some portal and disappear on the physical level?
Listen, there are places on our planet where the integrity of the time structure is disrupted. And these aren't even portals. They're just distortions. Distorted time vortices, I don't even know what to call them. So there are places where you can enter and that's it. You can't come back.
Where would you go?
Into parallel worlds. There, the energies move so intricately that they just knock you out of the perception of this time path onto another.
And do you remain in your physical body, or is it also...
You remain, yes, but you're still in the same body, just in a different space. There are such places. There are places you can return from and places you cannot return from. When I lived in Altai, well, it was enough to just start talking with the locals. And they would immediately warn you that there is a place called something like Uroczyście Dud. I think, yes. I think that's what it was called. And you shouldn't go there.
Even sounds like it. Something forever there.
They named it after the effects that appear there. So they warned that it's better not to go there. You might not come back. Because yes, there were cases when someone went there to pick mushrooms or hunt and then disappeared completely. There were people who experienced these states in those places, but somehow managed to move back, following their own tracks, and miraculously found their way out. That is, these stories are alive not only in Altai, but also in other corners of our country and in general on our planet. But really, who takes this seriously? Only those who live there. Everyone else, for the most part, doesn't care about it. And the larger society, the big social structure, shapes the space to suit itself. Therefore, some practices, for example, cannot be carried out within the city. You have to look for a more empty space, so to speak.
And can such places, portals, on Earth, be used as a place of power, to somehow connect with it, to recharge, not to disappear there?
Yes, you can, but you need to be careful about which place you are entering. There are energies that can completely knock you out of this timeline. There are energies that reflect settings that are very difficult to achieve states here and now. For example, there is energy where intention is very strongly manifested. Well, there are places, intention, the very one that permeates us from above, from top to bottom, from bottom to top, that is infinity from top to bottom. And sometimes in their individual practices, it is difficult for a person to grasp it, to find it. But if he comes to a place where it is strongly manifested, he immediately finds it within himself as well.
And what are these places?
Mainly these are mountain formations, rocky, very beautiful, well, powerful, with outcrops of such reformed stones from the ground. That's where the energies of intention are manifested.
All right. And if, for example, it's water, what energies are there?
Water?
Yes.
Listen, well, anyone who has been to the sea or the ocean immediately feels the difference. Just the sheer volume of water itself already gives you these settings.
Is it somehow related to pain, to sincerity? No? Is there some correlation between their...
Yes, definitely. These are the 5 tattvas, and the 5 tattvas are manifested in us as elements, as qualities, and even as portals, gates, so it all correlates with each other. That's why it definitely makes sense to visit places of power. It definitely makes sense to seek this within oneself.
But if there's no opportunity to travel, yes, somewhere, then it's a practice of direction.
Definitely all of this can be found within oneself without moving from the spot. This is also, it's just that sometimes it's difficult to find it within oneself. It's easier there. But if you don't have the opportunity to get there, well, if you sit there, I know, for a week longer in practice, you'll find it within yourself. I show these settings generally through video recordings, through online broadcasts, through audio messages sometimes. So it all works, it all has a place to be. But there are places where it is permanently manifested, always. And there are places where, you have to make an effort to manifest it. The same with me. I don't broadcast all of this permanently. I broadcast when there's a closed club of practitioners. We sit down, gather, I turn on the camera and start broadcasting. I turn off the camera and then I calm down a bit, relax. If you walk around a huge city constantly in such a state, you can attract completely unnecessary attention. In general, mastery is not about how you are always on fire. It's about how quickly you can ignite again, how quickly you can, hide from excessive attention to yourself.
Thank you, Anton, for the answers. Be sure to write your questions, impressions. We might answer them in the next video.
Do you want to unlock your inner strength and learn to manage energy? The course, Power of Consciousness 1. Practical Energy will provide you with tools to improve health, develop intuition, and gain a deeper understanding of the world. Join and start changing your life right now. Link in the description.